Science, HD, Science, HD.
Hello and welcome back to Science HD. My name is Nolan and I am alone today because it is finals week for most colleges, I think. Most colleges, I'm pretty sure, have finals right about now, if not around this time, if not already graduated. And graduation, I think, is actually this weekend for at least my college. And I saw some posts last weekend for graduation, so it's around this time of year, and I'm the only one on this team that is not currently in school, which hopefully won't be like that for long, because some people will be getting out of school soon and some people will be going back into school soon. So anyways, bow tie of the day is Detroit Tigers, not because I'm a Tigers fan, but because Detroit, I want to celebrate because they I just had to look it up right before I started because I'm really proud of Detroit. They have I think that's like one of the cities in America that have that stigma behind them of just being like one of the worst cities ever. And so I'm glad to see when something good happens to them. And something great happened to them when they hosted the NFL draft, which a few years ago when they got announced that they were going to host it, I was like, oh, that's going to be interesting to have Detroit host something in my time, because I think they hosted the Super Bowl when I was younger, maybe, or when I was first born or something. Nothing I could witness. They hosted, and I don't know if Detroit, my home big city in my home state, has ever hosted anything like that. So it was cool to see them host, and apparently they broke records. 775,000 people showed up to the draft, which I don't know why. I really want to look into more. I know this isn't really science at all, but I want to look into more why so many people showed up to Detroit. It couldn't just be because of the Detroit Lions being really good last year, but yeah, that was really cool to see. So that's the reason behind my bow tie today, because I just wanted to celebrate Detroit. Since it's a solo, I haven't done a solo Science HD in a hot minute, and when I did do my last one, it was the lowest view, not live view, but it was the lowest YouTube video of views. So let's see if we can break that, y'all, this time around. And last time I think it was called Extra Animal Special. So I just did nothing but animals. But today, I don't even think I put anything for animals in there. So if you clicked on this video because you were looking for nothing but animal facts, I'm sorry. But I still have some interesting things to talk about because I just thought they were cool and I just want to share it. That being said, this video is probably going to be the shortest Science HD to date. But it is halfway through the season. So, technically 7 more episodes. So this first season, I want to follow suit. We did 12 regular episodes, and then the 13th episode was the finale. And I gotta say, we do have some good stuff in store, and I'm excited. I'm excited for the future episodes on here. But yeah. For inviting guests, I actually have been trying to invite guests. I might as well be an open book with everyone that watches Science HD, because I feel like not a whole lot of people are going to be seeing this, so might as well get it out there. I have been inviting a lot of professors that I know, but also professors I don't know, and legit scientists, actual people doing their thing. So, they're all legit scientists. I mean like that. What I'm trying to say is I invited people like Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson, personally invited them as if I'm some legit organization, which I wouldn't say I'm a legit organization because there's no company. This isn't a company. There's no certification. I'm just this is what you see is what I am. But I still invited them, and I'm still professional about it. And I was like, why not? Worth the shot, because if college has taught me one thing, it's that if you don't ask, you'll never get anything. If you don't ask, you'll never have that. I'm seeing the stream glitch out in real time. That's crazy. But if you don't ask, you'll never it won't ever happen, if that makes sense. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities I've stumbled upon because I just asked about something and it led into one other thing and then worked out great for me. So but anyways, this episode might come on along with a lot of tangents because I just tangent a lot. So if that annoys you, I'm sorry. All right. So I might as well move onto the segments because why not, bro? We're here. Teflon Toxicity. I couldn't think of a good name for this title because how do you rhyme anything with Teflon? How do you make a pun with Teflon? Yeah, I can't think of a pun or anything with this even now, on the spot. Can't think of anything. So Teflon Toxicity. So I could have looked deeper into this, and I kind of still want to, but just for my own curiosity. But I had to crank out some other things too, and then life is busy as is, which is why everyone's not here, because life is busy and it's finals week, so it's 10 times busier. And I swear Science HD has a curse because it's always terrible timing, for personal life things. So, but anyways, I don't remember what I was gonna say other than, I guess, how I thought of this was, first of all, I used Teflon tape for when I had to build this kettle that I had for brewing, so I'm aware of Teflon. But then I stumbled upon a TikTok where it was one of those weird videos of people filming while they're at work, and someone was working at McDonald's and making eggs, and they weren't necessarily trying to expose McDonald's, but they were just filming how they make the eggs in the morning, and it's actually it's kind of fresh. It's not pre-made cooked egg and then they reheat it. That's if that's what you consider fresh, but it's eggs that come from a carton, which probably come from a source that's all right, and then they pour it on to the grill and they cook it. But it's not a normal way of cooking it. It's it's hard to explain, and I did not get a video of this because this wasn't the point of me doing it, but they basically put it on this Teflon mat that is surrounded by this big rectangle structure that keeps it all in there, and it's almost like cooking on a surface that is just heated like a grill would be, but slippery and frictionless almost, so you can slide it off and cook on it and it won't stick, which is what Teflon's used a lot for. But it's just a matte version rather than a whole pan or grill being made of Teflon, which looks sketchy. And so I go to the comments and I look at it, and people are only talking about the Teflon part, but basically the borders of the device that the eggs are sitting in can squeeze down, and you can chop them up into measured sections, so you can actually measure how much egg you're serving. That's cool. But then I'm so if you cook on Teflon all the time, if you're cooking on a mat, you immediately want to think rubber mat, but obviously it's Teflon now. Teflon mat, if you keep cooking on it, eventually it's got to wear out, eventually there's wear and tear. How long do you do this before you replace it? There's a lot of questions I had, so I was thinking of how toxic Teflon might be. I'm gonna click through these. So Teflon might be coated on your pans, and it's really not smooth. Well, I mean, it's smooth, but it's not rubbery, I guess. The one I'm trying to describe is more of a rubbery looking Teflon. Teflon also comes in the form of, well, that's the structure of it. Oops. Yeah, I guess I didn't put Teflon tape in there, but Teflon also comes in the form of tape, which isn't sticky. It's just meant to be wrapped around and create a seal in between this corkscrew grooves of pipes, pretty sure. That's what I used it for. So maybe there's multiple uses, but I don't think the word tape comes from like it being an adhesive, just more of like a sealant in the grooves of the wherever you're trying to seal it. So there's a lot of uses. And the reason why people love Teflon is because it has very low coefficient of friction. If you don't know what that is, maybe you're in school and you forgot it in physics, but it's basically like a measurement of how good or how strong the friction is on a surface. So like this wood has a certain coefficient of friction. I forget which number is better or worse for being slippery or being not slippery, but if Asher was here, he would definitely know. But basically, it has a very low coefficient of friction, which means it's more slippery. There we go. And it's also got like, that makes it non-stick for cooking, so it's really convenient. Basically, I looked into this, and Teflon is a synthetic polymer, and it's actually named. Let me see if I can pronounce this. Polytetrafluoroethylene. PTFE was what I'm going to call it for the rest of the episode. PTFE is hydrophobic as well, and that's another desire of cooking because you don't want your pan to soak up all your stuff. So if you could repel liquid and you are slippery, perfect for cooking eggs. But then I think there's been some history, and this is the part I want to dive deeper on, is there's been some history of like people debating how toxic it is, and how bad it is for you. There's a lot of myths and claims, and I don't know how many studies though there are of people scratching their pans and then saying that their Teflon exfoliates over time and leaks into your food, and then that food gets consumed by you, therefore it like poisons you. And then there's been like just a lot of studies about, or not a lot of studies, but like a lot of claims about Teflon being heated in your like your standard cooking temperatures and like leaking or leaching its properties into your food or something that way. So there's been a lot of myths about that, and I wasn't around for that because I didn't care probably until recently, like maybe today. But what I'm trying to say is I think there was already debates, and then a lot of those debates might have gotten debunked since then, and Teflon I think it was banned for a little bit in some states, and then it was debunked, or I think they replaced some sort of product that came with it, and it is now safe to use. So what I'm trying to say is Teflon is not that bad, and it's good that we know of, and it needs to be further looked into to create that unsafe judgment, if you catch my drift. So that's what I found. Teflon does start to break down at 500 degrees, but no one's cooking at 500 degrees with Teflon, not on a grill. So yeah, it also is used in medical devices. I'm pretty sure it's used in things that they want to keep low friction. So that might be like, I think it might be inserts in your body. So they do actually put Teflon in your body on purpose. I don't think something made out of pure Teflon's in your body, but it might be on it, if you know what I mean. Which also helps because it's hydrophobic. That makes sense. And your body's full of liquid. So that would make sense too. And then they also put it on like laboratory appliances because it is pretty good for avoiding corrosion. So yeah. So keep on enjoying your McDonald's breakfast sandwiches, my science nerds. Also, that was that Teflon segment. Now I was gonna have this fun little game. Well, not really a game, but like I was gonna segue from Teflon toxicity into microplastics, because microplastics, they're they're a they're a hot topic, just because we're starting to understand them more, and it's entirely human made and humans fault, and it's pollution that you can't really you can't see it. It's pollution that's really hard to stop, and it's here. So and it's scary, because what are we scared of most? Things we can't see. So anyways, microplastics, for anyone that doesn't know what a microplastic is, first of all, look into it, because I can't give you much more than just the basics. But basically, it's plastic shavings that are just like so small, like just little pieces of plastics that you can't even see with your naked eye. That it's like that small, and they get into everything. It's almost like if you were to think of like glitter, is how I take it. Now glitter you could see, and now imagine if you couldn't see glitter and how annoying that is. So it gets into foods, and that's what we're mainly concerned about, because what do we do with food? We eat it. What do we do with food when we don't eat? We feed it to something else, or we put it into the earth to decompose. And then where does it go back to? It's a cycle. Everyone knows life is a cycle. So when you put microplastics anywhere in that cycle, it probably gets down, or it probably gets through the whole circle. You know what I'm saying? So, oceans. I mean, I'm just talking about dirt. Oceans, bro. Microplastics in oceans. But anyways, just look into it if you've never heard of it before. Back on track, I wanted to play this game. Maybe I will with Rose or Asher, since they aren't here right now. I don't think they're gonna watch this far into the video. So maybe if they do, they'll ace this, and let's see if they do. Because I was gonna ask them, what do you think the top 10 most polluted things of microplastics are that we consume? I think, yeah, that we consume. So what do you think the top 10 foods / things we consume with the most microplastics? And I'll let people in chat, and I'll let people at home and whoever's listening think, because you got to think, like, sure, all foods might have microplastics in it somehow, even if I can guarantee that it doesn't. But let's think of like a factory. You know how much plastic's in a factory, and all food. Sure, you might say each one, but which one do you think has the highest? Which one do you think has the most contact? So that's what you got to think of. So, and you got to think of maybe the ocean has the most microplastics, since it's a liquid. Can't see it, floats around, just collects. There's more ocean water than there is land. Maybe there's more pollution of microplastics in the ocean than there are on the land. So number 10, I'm going to start with number 10, is air. While not a food, microplastics in the air can be ingested when they settle on food or inhaled directly. So yeah, airbound microplastics, dude. It's like I call this section Nolan Ruins Everything, because I'm about to ruin everything for anyone that's listening. That is a take on Adam Ruins Everything, which is a TV show on True TV, or was a TV show on True TV, where it's actually really interesting. He just like talks about things that people like, and he just like ruins it for you, by like giving you the hard truth that no one wants to hear. So yeah. Next one, chicken and pork. Some studies have found traces of microplastics in chicken and pork. Yeah, that's number 9, chicken and pork. I mean, I think I saw something online where it said all proteins have microplastics in them. How do you think about that? Well, you got to think about what those animals are eating. Straight up. What they're eating in. Because it depends. Like, if you're eating on plastic troughs, you're probably going to have microplastics in your food. If you're eating on a plastic anything, you're probably going to have microplastics in your food. Because plastic equals microplastics at the end of the day. Number 8 is carrots. I don't know why carrots have their own section, but chicken and pork are just like mashed together. I'm using this off this one website that actually made it into the list, which was really kind of hard to find. No one makes like a top 10 most polluted foods with microplastics list, but I really wanted to just find a list to make it easy for me, just to like play a game, see how many you get right. So if you had carrots on your list, that's pretty good. But apparently carrots have microplastics due to soil contamination, so it depends on the soil they put it in, and that probably comes down to a lot of these things. But apples and pears are sectioned together at number 7. The skin of these fruits may have microplastics, possibly from contaminated soil or just agricultural practices. So then you got to think of where you're putting these apples and pears when you're harvesting them. It's probably what that comes down to too. And the skin acts differently than carrots. So, yeah. Next we have bottled water. I mean, dare I say more? And I actually saw a study that said that it increases by like 7 or something. It increases by some number that you can multiply, more than 2, where if you leave your water bottle out in the sun, the amount of microplastics that are released from the water bottle increases by some sort of number that I don't remember. So, yeah, stick with metal like me, even though it still has microplastics in it probably too, because I have a plastic water bottle, or I have a plastic lid for my water bottle. So, yeah, that's great, huh? Honey, bees may inadvertently collect microplastics while foraging, so they contaminate their own honey. Yeah, nothing's safe out here. Once again, Nolan ruins everything. Bottled and canned beer. I did not know this had their own section. That one takes a hit. That one's a hit. Yep, that one's a big hit. Microplastics have been detected in both bottled and canned beer. It's probably in everything canned. I honestly wouldn't hold that to just beer. It's kind of weird that they said just beer. It's probably everything that's bottled or canned, because there is, at the end of the day, there's no difference in the bottle and can, but maybe there's a difference in the process. But I can't imagine Pepsi having more or less microplastics. I can imagine them having more. I can't imagine them having less microplastics than any sort of beer. So, and also there's so many places that make beer. There's more places that make beer than there are places that make pop, or soda, rather. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, but there's got to be. You know how many like microbreweries there are, and there's not going to be like micro pop, what do you even call that? Factories, soda factories, soda creators. What do you even call someone that makes soda? See, there's not even a name for it. There's a name for people that make beer. So, but anyways, fish from polluted waters often contain microplastics in their digestive systems. Unfortunately, common species like salmon and trout are not exempt. Yeah, because salmon is peak. That's a great fish to eat. I love salmon. Wouldn't be my first thing I choose off a menu, because I feel like I like it when it's cooked a certain way, or I like it where it's very herby and probably buttery too, and like seasoned and not super fishy, even though I'm eating a fish. But yeah, the more seasonings you could pair with it, the better for me. Anyways, sea salt. Microplastics have been found in sea salt harvested from polluted waters, and these particles can end up on our dining tables, guys. Guys, wake up. I'm just kidding. Seafood is the last one, which kind of is number 3 as well. The last one all has to do with the sea. Mussels, oysters, clams, and other filter-feeding shellfish tend to accumulate microplastics from their surrounding water. I think it might be because they filter water through themselves. They're almost like water filters. I'm pretty sure. If not, like things like sponges and sea cucumbers definitely are. And they probably have a lot of microplastics in them as well, and it probably accumulates and it probably gets nasty. So there you go. I ruined everything. This one was cool. I really hope someone sees this out there. But it also has like a good moral of the story type thing. Because feel the rainbow, but do not plant the rainbow. It was supposed to be a spin-off of Skittles. Feel the rainbow, taste the rainbow. But I couldn't think of anything. So I'm going to talk about rainbows, but not rainbows. Rainbow eucalyptus. Ah. Rainbow eucalyptus is a tree. Species of tree that are found in Philippines, Indonesia, and Papua New Guinea. I think I said that right. I'm so sorry if I didn't. So it's found in those like 3 countries naturally. Now, is there a rainbow eucalyptus tree in the United States? Yes. Are there more than one? Yes. Is our whole forest full? No. Are they natural? H, no. Are they in Hawaii? Yes. Are there a lot of them in Hawaii? Yep. It's because they look so pretty. I mean, look at them. If you're watching this and looking away from the screen, just take a moment whenever in the next 5 minutes to just look at the screen. At the bottom right corner, it just looks beautiful. I mean, it looks like it was at the center of a paintball gun match, and it rained the next day, and it somehow beautifully smeared all the paint down the tree. And like, I don't know. It also reminds me of like if you were to go to like a laser tag or like a laser tag thing indoors, and they turned off all the lights and they were like, let's make like a forest theme, but let's not have the trees be boring. Let's have the trees be cool. So this is what they would make. Like, that's what it looks like to me. So I thought it was fun to look at. And apparently did the residents of Hawaii and California, because that's where it is popularized as ornamental street trees or just ornamental trees on people's properties. And you might be like, that's cool. I'd want that in my yard too. But what do California and Hawaii have in common? Forest fires. This has nothing to do with forest fires. I'm just getting another look at this beautiful tree. So before I go back into California and Hawaii, and them being forest fire prone, this tree is cool and colorful because its bark, I think, peels away or just like ages at different times. But basically, the interaction of the outside environment and the bark of this tree make it turn from green to, what were the colors in order? From green to red to orange to blue to purple and even pink. So, yeah, that's cool. And no, this is not an edited picture. This is all a real tree, and it is not native to America, but there are some, you know how humans are. Y'all know how humans are. It's much like last week, but 2 weeks ago, but last episode where we were talking about camels, if not the episode before that. Some episode ago, we were talking about camels in this season and how there's more feral camels in Australia than there are in in Egypt there, which everyone thinks of Egypt. They think of desert. You think of desert, you think of camels. You think a bunch of camels are going to be there. No, there's more in Australia because of humans introducing them, the population exploding. Now, I don't think plants work similar in being an invasive species, but they don't work as fast, I'm pretty sure. And they're not as obviously destructive. Now, if you look at invasive plants in your area, you'll find a lot. I remember learning about invasive plants in 6th grade, and there was this plant called the purple loosestrife, and it's like a pond killer. Like, it destroys the ponds by just growing all around it and like draining it and over consuming and taking up the vegetation all around. And yeah, so I remember that one. But I don't know how destructive these guys are, other than obviously out competing against some sort of native species, which is usually how it goes when you introduce a new species. There's oftentimes a lot of niches, however you want to say it, that are open or available if some species has the capability of fitting in it. So yeah. But anyways, yeah, the bark is cool about this tree. I don't know how closely related it is to the regular eucalyptus. It's probably extremely close, and it probably has very similar leaves. The reason why people love this, another reason, is mosquitoes hate this tree. Apparently, it's like repels mosquitoes, so that's pretty dope. And everyone hates mosquitoes. It's the number one killer in the world. So, what is another reason why people love this tree, other than it's an aesthetic? Like, look at that. That's not an edited photo. That's an aesthetic, dude. Although I don't like this photo because it looks edited, because it's really zoomed in and it probably has a really good camera. But still, that's still just like the aesthetic of the tree. And people are like, I want that in my backyard. I want that in my front yard and my backyard. Oh wait, but I live in California and Hawaii, so let's go back to that. Yeah, fires, forest fires, prone. The whole area is prone. Hawaii is all prone. It wasn't too long ago that Maui had a forest fire, and a little bit before that, maybe. Almost feels like every other year California has a pretty bad forest fire too, and these guys are especially combustible, because they produce so many aromatic oils in their bark, that it lights up pretty good. So highly flammable, really pretty. Of course, they're highly flammable because they're really pretty, and they make it inconvenient for you to own. So please, rich people of California who can afford to import this and recreate this in their backyard, please don't. But you're not going to listen to me. So, but anyways, I'm going to move on to holy crap. I did name this one a different name earlier, but then I was like, got to keep it family friendly. We're naming it holy crap. So, holy crap. Let me open up my link to what this was, because not gonna lie, I like looked into this and I didn't want to type it all out. I usually type it all out, helps me remember it on the fly. But then I was like, I'm just gonna go for it. So yes, I wanted to talk about something in particular with poop, which sounds immature and disgusting right off the bat. But there's only so many things that we all do on this earth. No matter if you're part of a terrorist group, no matter if you're part of the same baseball team, doesn't matter what color skin or eyes or hair, we all do a few of the same things at the end of the day. If someone were to go behind a door for 72 hours, you'd be like, all right, they at least were breathing back there. If they have water, they were probably drinking it. If they had food, they were probably eating it. And they were probably defecating and peeing, because we all do that. So I'm going to go to the defecation and talk about that, because there are 8 billion people on this planet, and that means if 8 billion people defecate, you got to have a good way of managing that. And I've never thought about, where does our poop go when we defecate, at least in America? So I looked into it, and I'm like, how do we master sewage management? So I looked into it, and basically, I'm going to try to paint the picture with a picture. Septic tanks. Now, a septic tank system is going to be located underground all the time, maybe. But I actually kind of find it funny that I went from rainbow eucalyptus trees to septic tanks. It's like this huge turnaround. But anyways, septic tanks. This is all underground, what I'm about to explain. And I don't know if they do these above ground. And if they do, I wonder how bad it smells from a distance, because there's no way that you like seal this unless it's underneath dirt. But anyways, here's a picture of a septic tank system. And actually, I'll put this on the big screen. So here's a picture of a septic tank system. And basically your input baffle over there is where all the fresh stuff comes in. Let me just say that. And it separates into those 3 layers. Scum on the top is going to be like your oils, greases, things that float on top of water that all come from down under. All right. And then sludge is going to be your actual heavy stuff that goes to the bottom, as you can imagine. Wastewater is everything in between, literally, but also just like things that don't fall to the bottom, are still nasty. Everything in here is nasty, and it's just like contaminated water, like extremely contaminated water. Well, what lives in a septic tank? Bacteria. So bacteria in that first compartment are going to go to town on all of the fresh food, I guess, for lack of better terms. And they are constantly breaking down that solid waste. And these tanks are specially designed to not let that sludge or scum get into the next phase, which the next phase is the second compartment, but like it also filters out that phase. But the second compartment is just trying to hold more wastewater and less of the bad stuff from the first phase. But bacteria basically is always breaking stuff down, which is why you don't have to constantly replace your septic tank. Eventually, you'll have to replace your septic tank, and there's people that come and do that, and that's why there's manhole covers and inspection pipes, and then they'll empty it. And I actually think they might introduce some bacteria to make a good population of bacteria that'll break down your sludge, because this is the coolest part, is we've like mastered this to the point where we know that bacteria is going to just do its thing, break down and help us out. We're like using biology to manage our waste, which is pretty cool. Same ideas might go for like future. People study getting rid of trash by using fungal, I don't know, I want to say parasites, but I don't think they're parasites, but using fungus to eat away at metal. And I think that's really cool. So this is like that on a similar scale, where we're trying to get rid of waste, but bacteria just eating it. So I thought septic tanks were actually cool. And I'll say that, I'll put that on a t-shirt. Septic tanks are cool. I'm sure someone with the job of doing this is interested in that shirt, or appreciates that I think they're cool. But you look at this and you're like, all right, that makes sense, Nolan. You know, you got your 3 layers, you filter it off for the next one. No, there's still some more over there because everything gets through a pipe, you know, so filters out again to the output. And then you look over to the right and it says wastewater goes to drain field. And I'm like, all right, what's a drain field? There's a reason why we filter about a bunch of stuff. So by the end of the filter, you just have like water. Probably smells like dookie, and it's probably just disgusting water, but it's filtered, and bacteria is breaking stuff down in it. But let's see how a drain field works. So we got the simplified septic tank over there. Here, look. There we go. A main line from home. Simplified septic tank is over there. And then there's the drain field, which is basically just a big pipe with a bunch of holes in it, put into gravel. This is all underground still. It's put into gravel underground, and then it creates a layer of water that just gets filtered downwards, probably because of gravity, gravity shouts out. and then it gets filtered naturally through the dirt. And it gets absorbed, and I think this is where the bacteria really goes ham, because it gets purified and then goes back into the groundwater. Because as many people know, if you keep digging, you'll eventually find water. But yeah, so our poo water gets filtered naturally by the earth and gets clean through the earth, which I think is cool as well, because we're using the earth itself as like a machine almost. So I do want to read how this works. It says heavy solids sink to the bottom. Over 24 to 48 hours, the solids break down to form a sludge layer. Lighter floatable solids, such as grease, oils, and fats, collect at the top of water. It's the scum layer. The bacteria that live in the septic tank constantly break down the solid waste. The tank's fittings hold the scum and sludge from flowing out into the drain field, which is what we're looking at right here. Liquid that is washed or flushed into the tank is known as effluent. I don't feel like we need to know that, but in the tank, effluent is partially treated or clarified by bacteria. So I don't know how like safe that water is, but I feel like it's safe to go to the next phase. And as the tank fills up, the liquid empties into the drain field where it is absorbed in the soil. So yeah, basically the bacteria purify the water. I guess clarify the water, and then the earth purifies the water, and then and it gets mixed back into the groundwater. Then we take the groundwater, and then we probably purify it or filter it again ourselves through some other way where we can make it safe to reuse for anything. So that's pretty cool. I don't know the history of this, but I want to know, because that was cool that we thought of that. So shouts out septic tanks for having like a cool thing to talk about. I feel like this episode's theme is toxicity. I don't know what it is about it, but I wanted to finish out on this last segment with toxicity, as well as the first segment, and I guess the last one, and the second one, and the most recent. Wow, every single segment I've said has something to do with toxicity. I guess it's a toxic special. It is. I do have a special today. It's the when I go down to one person, it's always a special. That's what I'm going to keep consistent. And first one was animal special. This one's the toxicity special. So this last one's called What's Worse Than a Trojan Horse? No, wait, I said that wrong. What's worse than a Trojan horse? There we go. A Moscow Mule. And I'll tell you why. This is what a Moscow Mule looks like, all right? I'm going to go back to this screen, because I feel like you don't need to see a big image of a Moscow Mule, at least more than once. But yeah, that's what a Moscow Mule looks like. It is nice and sweaty, which actually makes that look even more delicious, because that's how you know it's really cold. And my brain's probably thinking that means the room's like warm and your drink is cold, and that's a good feeling. But anyways, that was a tangent. Moscow Mule's very popular drink. I'm a bartender. To make my money, I bartend, and this is a drink that I swear gets ordered like probably every bartending shift, no matter where you work. Like, there's always someone that likes Moscow Mules. Of course, humans having the great luck that we do. You know, like earlier, ooh, pretty tree. I want that in my backyard. Oh, it's one of the most flammable trees. Ooh, pretty drink. I want to drink it. Oh, this is actually a toxic drink for you, supposedly. So ever since I was in high school, I've been hearing, because my mom was a fan of Moscow Mules, so she had copper cups at home. I always was like, what is this for? Like, why a copper cup? I mean, it looks cool, but like, why? This is such a random purchase. And she's like, oh, it's a Moscow Mule. And at the time, I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't care, because I don't even know what that is, and I don't drink it. It sounds gross, because ginger beer is disgusting. Yeah, so you traditionally put it in this copper cup. I know a small history of it. Apparently, it makes it taste better, because of the ginger beer and the cup. Also, it's metal, so it preserves the coldness better. There's a lot going into it for just a drink. There's like a lot of history. And with a lot of bar drinks, there's a lot of deep histories with them, whether they like started out of prohibition from like, oh, it was the cheap way to make it. It's probably got a similar story here because there's not that much going on in a Moscow Mule. It's just ginger beer, vodka, a little bit of simple syrup and lime. Yeah, that's it. Most bar drinks are very simple like that, but yeah, everyone loves this thing. Also, some claim that it tastes better in a copper cup because it does something. I have a theory. It tastes better in a copper cup because there's some chemical action going on that is not good for you. And I might not be the only one that thinks that way because I looked into this finally. I did not finish my story. I realized, wow, I tangent a lot. But I did not finish my story. I realized when I said that this is, my mom bought these, and then she was disappointed one day when she heard that they might not be good for you. It was never like 100% confirmed in my life. I never like thought about it, nor did I care, because I never drank out of a copper cup. But I saw something recently on TikTok where it popped up, and I was like, all right, I got to figure this out. They were saying, oh, recent studies show that copper cups are toxic when you're drinking Moscow Mules because yada, yada, yada. And it shows that you can only drink it for 27 minutes until it is unsafe levels of copper in your liquid. So, yes, arrives. This is a solo episode. Everyone's doing finals, so I could have foreseen this, given that I'm no longer in school. But anyways, so yeah, I saw it pop back up in social media that it could be toxic, so I had to look into it, and lo and behold, there are some studies out there about this already, years old, and let me look into what I had. So anyways, as one might assume, it is not safe to drink any sort of heavy metal in your liquid, copper being one of them. Although I'm pretty sure there are some small traces of copper in a lot of drinking water, especially tap water. But there's a small amount. When I'm not talking about like little shavings. I'm talking about like you can't see with your eye again, parts per million type stuff where you can drink it and be fine. But the claim is the fact that a Moscow Mule with all the ingredients added together, probably mainly from the limes, when all that goes into the copper cup, it's so acidic that it interacts with the copper and releases some of the copper into your drink, and then you drink it. Obviously, that's not good. It's like drinking poison. Sure, it tastes good, but, so I saw something that said copper starts to corrode when any solution has a pH lower than 7. And when a solution with pH lower than 7 comes in contact, any acid apparently, when it comes in contact with it, starts to corrode. How fast? I don't know. Other studies like looked into like copperware and found that under acidic conditions, it does release copper into the solution. But copper lined vessels, so if you have a copper cup and it's lined with stainless steel on the inside or lacquer, you'll be all right. So there's not nearly as much copper in your drink. So basically what I'm trying to say is it's true. This is probably worse than Teflon. If I were to compare the two. I'm not gonna, don't quote me on this though, because like, I don't know, like 100%. I don't like the whole idea of just like plastic or metals, because like I said, with microplastics and just how toxic everything is, you never know. But there are studies that claim pH lower than 7 solutions, which is just acid of any kind, whether it's weak or strong, releases copper. I imagine that the stronger the acid, the more copper is released. And I don't know last time you checked, but limes are pretty acidic. Ginger beer is probably acidic because it's just like a sugary drink. And then you're adding a little bit of simple syrup sometimes, unless you don't, which a lot of people don't. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is Moscow mules, toxic. Here's another example of a copper cup, because a lot of them look like that shape, but then there's copper mug. But yeah, so I talked about a lot of things today, and it's my first and hopefully last solo episode. If you know someone out there that would like to join me on Science HD, hit me up at ScienceHD@gmail.com or ScienceHDpodcast@gmail.com. Not the first one, just ScienceHDpodcast@gmail.com. It's linked on everything. So if you're watching this video, you're probably watching on YouTube or Twitch, and it's linked on both of those. Follow our Instagram for updates, like if we have to cancel an episode, like possibly next week, and if we are not doing one, or if the season just ended, or if you want to know when the season finale is, or if you don't want to turn on notifications but you want to remember when it comes on. Yeah, all those things are on Instagram. What else am I missing? YouTube. This is going to be on YouTube in like a few days. I already got the thumbnail for it, because I was like, all right, I'm going to talk about this, and then this. And so, yeah, my mom just showed up in chat. My mom just talked about your copper cups and how they're toxic. These are not mojitos. These are Moscow mules, and they are toxic, which is nothing new, but people are starting to realize that now. And so, yeah. And since you're just joining us, I am wearing this Detroit Tigers bow tie, I think for the first time ever. Just because I was proud of Detroit this past weekend with 775,000 people in attendance at the NFL draft. So, I'm trying to think of anything I wanted to wrap up. But yeah, I can't think of anything. So, we talked about a lot of toxic things today. Rainbow eucalyptus trees weren't toxic, but they're not great for the environment if you plant them outside of the 3 countries I listed, which is not their natural habitat, y'all. But they look so pretty. Like, I'm gonna go back to them because they look so pretty. Like, look at that. Like, that's cool. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I hope this made at least somewhat decent background noise. Hope my voice is chill enough to listen to before you go to bed, while you're watching, or not watching, but while you're driving or something, or doing dishes, getting ready in the morning, making coffee, making breakfast, making dinner, lunch, anything. Until next week, I don't really have anything to ask what's your hypothesis, but I guess, what do you think what's your hypothesis on what I'm going to talk about next week? Actually, wait, I do have something I do want to talk about next week. I'm going to talk about how erasable pens work, which sounds really stupid at first, but I really want to talk about how erasable pens work. Like, think about it. Like, erasable pencils, you might be able to understand, but how are erasable pens so permanent yet so not? So yeah, I can't find the Science HD music right now, so we're just gonna pretend it's there for all my live stream people, and I will see ya in the next one.